everyone, and welcome to a new colour along from Colour with Claire. So recently I put out a post on Facebook asking what book you would like to see me do a colour along in next, and Romantic Country was the overwhelming success from that poll. So Romantic Country it is. Now, first of all, I was going to do one from the very first book, Romantic Country 1, but I really wanted to do something Christmassy, and the best kind of Christmas image that I really wanted to do was actually from Romantic Country 3, or the third tale. Now, I know that quite a lot of you haven't got the third book, but you have got the first book. So instead of just doing this one and leaving the rest of you without anything to do, I am going to be doing a colour along from Romantic Country 1 in the new year. So I just wanted to get this one done first because it's more Christmassy, it's more festive, but don't worry, I will be doing one from the first book so you all can join in. Okay, so the one that I've chosen is this one here, and it's the post box. So it's the two children with their letters to Santa and they're posting them ready for Christmas. I really love this one. It's just really quaint and it's got loads of different elements that we can play with. You know, we've got the windows to sort out at the back, try and make those look as realistic as possible. And it's just really festive. You've got the nutcracker, the Christmas tree, the decorations everywhere, and it just called out to me. So this is the one we're doing today. Now, I've chosen all of my colours already. I have actually done a little thumbnail, as you can see, really rudimentary thumbnail. So I just sketched it out very quickly with the basic shapes and then just put some colour here, there and everywhere, you know, what I wanted to do on the page. So our post box is going to be red and black with gold accents. Our nutcracker is going to be red and black as well. The tree's obviously going to be green, and then in the background I thought we'd do a really nice sort of peacock blue background with these beige inserts. So all of these inner bits at the background here will be a deep blue, and then the bits of writing and the inside of it will be beige. Now obviously I'm not just going to block colour them, we're going to be using a selection of different colours to get nice gradients and things, but that is the basic look of the page. very basic. So I am using Prismacolor, and you know I love to use Prismacolor. They are my favourite pencils, but I also use them because they have the most range. So there's 150 colours, and I find that if I use any other pencils, I'm often very limited, and the colours that I want just aren't there. But Prismacolors are really popular, and there are charts everywhere. I've got charts myself of converting them into polychromos and other pencil brands. So don't worry if you don't have Prismacolors. I'll link some charts in the description of where you can see conversions and things to get similar colours. But don't worry about it having to be exactly the same as mine anyway. As long as you've got some reds and some goldy colours and things, I'm sure you can make it work. So let's get started. Today's episode is going to be focused on that postbox centre stage. So for this one, we're going to be using a mixture of reds, blacks and golds. Blacks, there's only one black, isn't there? Red, black and gold. So I'm going to start off, I think, with the gold bits. Let's do that first. So the colours that I've chosen for the gold bits are light umber, goldenrod, yellow ochre and sand, and I'll be putting these little things up here so that you can always see what colour it is I'm using. Really good idea I got from Colour and Chat with Sammy. So let's get started. Right, I always colour from dark to light, that's just the way that I do it. So we've got our light umber first, and we're going to be doing these little inserts on the post box in gold. So I've got my light umber, which is PC941, and I'm going to start up here. So this is the darkest bit of our gold, and you'll notice when you look at gold it does have brown in it. That's the kind of shadow colour of gold. So it's not a reddish brown, it's more of a sort of pale brown, so to speak. It's really difficult to describe, but it's not a reddish brown anyway. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of colour on the corners, the both sides of the sign. This is why I hate doing colour alongs in this kind of format, because I never know what to say and I always lose my words. So we're just adding a little bit of colour. Now, as you know, if you watch my channel, you know that I'm not one to do loads and loads of light layers and build it up very, very slowly. I'm very impatient as a colourist, and I do push quite hard on my pencils, which is, you know, it's not recommended really. You're supposed to build them up in layers, but I do like to burnish and push down and use hard pressure on my very deepest areas, because if you use a blending solution or a white pencil to burnish it, you're actually losing a lot of the colour and it dulls down and desaturates. So I just like to use the colours themselves rather than white, to be honest. But again, it's totally up to you how you do it. You could just take the colours that I've chosen for this and then colour it in your style. So we've put a little bit of brown either side of this sign. And I'm just going darker and harder pressure at the very edge, and then I'm feathering it out, which basically just means getting lighter and lighter with pressure so that we can transition it into our next colour. So yeah, there we go. So you can bring out the top and tail a little bit further. Just gives it more dimension. So just pull a little bit out here. Now I'm going to take goldenrod, which is a fantastic colour for gold. It seems to be the best one in the Prismacolors for colouring gold. So we're going to go over the feathered edge of what I've just put down with the light umber, because that will help us blend. It sort of leaves you a bit of a foundation to carry on with the next colour when you do that. So instead of just colouring hard and then stopping and then putting your next pencil on, we like to lighten the pressure and give ourselves a bit of a base to start from. So we're going kind of over what we've already done, and that's what allows it to blend. That's the basics of blending. Pulling out that top and tail a little bit more as well. I don't know why I'm calling it top and tail, but it's stuck now. So bring it out. I find with romantic country sometimes you get a little bit of ink bleed when you're colouring, especially if you're colouring quite hard over, you know, especially over lettering and things here. Now obviously there's a lot of open spaces where we won't have to colour over lettering, so it won't matter, but just on these bits you can see there's a slight bit of ink bleed. But don't worry about that, it won't be obvious when you've finished. Just something to mention. So again, we've kept our pressure hard over the area that we're transitioning from the previous colour, and then we're feathering it out to a very light dusting of colour as we continue. So next we've got yellow ochre, and again exactly the same thing. So I'm going over the goldenrod, pulling it out, flattening any tooth that is on the goldenrod area where we kept it light. So that's all completely burnished, but then again remembering to feather it out as you come towards the centre. Last colour for the gold is sand. I'm just going to do exactly the same thing. It really is the exact same process when I'm blending. So everything on this page will be done in this manner. So I'm leaving a little bit of white in the centre. I'm not going all the way. I don't want them to meet in the middle too much. We can do a very light layer kind of in the middle just so it doesn't look as stark, but that is the basic gold blend that I'm using for all of these inserts. So when we put our other colours on here, this will look more gold. It will, you know, it will be obvious, it will contrast with everything else, and it might not look perfect at the moment, but it will when we get there. So that's it. I'm just going to carry on doing all of the other little inserts in the post box, and then we'll move on to the next colour. So this is the part now where I've explained how to do everything and I haven't got a clue what to talk about. So I hope everyone is okay, getting ready for Christmas. Feels like Halloween just came and went this year, didn't it? It was so sort of fast and it came and went. So Christmas already. I have probably had the latest year ever of starting to buy presents. So I remember when the kids were little, when they were like 3 and 4 and 5, I used to have presents bought, wrapped and finished in August. You know, I was so organised. I don't know how I did it. This year I've got a few, but nothing, you know, I've not got anywhere near things ready that I would normally have ready. So that's presents, decorations, etc, etc. I did mention on a previous video that I always tell myself I'm going to get new decorations every year because I'm sick of seeing the same ones now. But it gets to that time and then there's always something more important to spend money on than decorations when you've already got some. So I always end up just using the exact same ones. And that's what will happen again this year, I think. What I should do, if I was sensible, is buy a load of decorations in the new year when they're really cheap and then save them. But it just seems too far away to bother spending the money. So I find myself in this cycle every year of not sorting it out and wishing I had. But I've got this kind of end of the year. I think of the year as a circle, and you've got December and January at the top, and it goes round January round to December. And this kind of end of the year, I've got a lot of birthdays and things on. So it's always sort of hectic getting everyone sorted out. I've got my husband's birthday, which is just gone, my son's birthday, which is in a couple of days' time. I've got mum and dad's birthday, then I've got my sister's birthday in December, the start of December, and then in February, early February, it's my other son's birthday. So all the way through the kind of rest of the year, there's not too much going on. It's my birthday in May, but I don't buy things for myself, so that's fine. But yeah, it's always this end of the year, so seems to just be a lot to sort out in one go. So I'm doing this quite quickly. You don't have to, you know, it doesn't have to take forever. You know, I'm quite a fast colourist, and that's just because I'm impatient and I can't be bothered with things taking ages. I just did that double page spread in Joanna Basford's Magical Jungle, which you will have seen if you follow me online. And that turned out absolutely incredible, but it took me ages. And when I say ages, I mean kind of like 5 or 6 days. But that's ages for me. Like, I like to just get it done and out of the way. So I don't know. Right, next is the middle one for Santa. And this is another reason I don't do a lot of colour alongs, because I kind of think it's might be a little bit boring. And I know, before you shout at me, I know it's not. Everybody always says, Claire, you're fine, you're not boring, blah, blah, blah. It's just my kind of self-esteem issues that I think, who's going to want to listen to me rattle on? But I know that you all want to see colour alongs. It's like the biggest thing I get asked. Can you do more colour alongs? But because I usually colour in front of my TV on my lap, so I'm watching a film or Supernatural or whatever, I don't usually sit at my desk and colour, because obviously it's a little bit more of an awkward position to stay in for a long time. So I don't really get the chance to film a lot of me actually colouring pages. I know I do tutorials and things, but as for colouring pages, not really. But I am going to make the effort in 2020 to do more colour alongs for you. It is also a self-esteem thing, because even though most of my coloured pages turn out really nicely, I always worry that I'm going to start doing a colour along and then halfway through it will look terrible and I won't know what to do and I've messed it up. So I just kind of have those confidence issues there. But I'm hoping, because I've already plotted out all of my colours and things, we should be okay. So I'm leaving these, the actual letterbox part of it, because we're going to do those in red. Just go around there. Keep your pencils nice and sharp. It always helps when you're colouring to keep your pencils sharp. I don't know why, they just seem to colour better when they're sharp. More pigment is released, I don't know. It's just how it seems to work. Okay, goldenrod. I have to think them for a sec. So yeah, Christmas. I used to absolutely love Christmas. I think you do, don't you, when you're a kid? Every kid loves Christmas. And then just as you get older, and the you know, I don't know. I know a lot of adults that still love Christmas, and I love the idea of Christmas, but it always seems to be a bit of an anticlimax nowadays. I don't know why. I think it's hyped up way too much, and then it just seems to not live up to that, so you kind of left feeling a little bit deflated when Christmas actually comes around. That's me anyway. I used to be one of these people that wanted to put their tree up in like October, but now I won't even listen to a Christmas song before the 1st of December, because a few years ago I did put my tree up really early, and by the time Christmas came around I was just sick of it, and I think all the decorations came down on Boxing Day. I was just sick of the sight of it, sick of everything being Christmas everywhere you look, everything on the radio. So I made a pledge to myself that I wouldn't get into the Christmas spirit until the 1st of December. And that worked out well the last few years. I don't know, it seemed to just concentrate it more rather than it being diluted over months. But yeah, so I do love the idea of Christmas. It just it's probably just when you get older it seems to take on a lot more stress than it does fun. But the best thing about Christmas to me, it always was seeing the kids' faces on Christmas morning. I think every single parent can relate to that. We all love to see how our hard work and efforts pay off on our kids' faces, you know, when they open all their surprises and things. But now my kids are getting older, they kind of tell me what they would like, and then I'll get it if I can. So there's like that element of surprise. I mean, they still get a few surprises, but I think the magic just goes when they get older, you know, and it's sad. But I think the best thing about Christmas is the food. So you've got your pigs in blankets and, you know, gorgeous big roast dinner with all the trimmings. And you've got loads of puddings and Yule logs and sweets and cake and all sorts. So that's my favourite thing about Christmas nowadays. I know that I might sound like a bit of a Scrooge. I don't mean to, because I always call my husband a Scrooge, because he just doesn't bother about Christmas whatsoever. I would love to find the magic in it again, if that was possible. I don't know. Maybe when I've got grandkids, that might be it, but no, not yet. My eldest is coming up to 14 now, and I was 16 when I had him. I was 16 when I was pregnant, and I was 17 when I had him. So in theory, I could be a grandma in a few years, but I doubt it. I've already implored to my kids, you know, as much as I adore them and they're my entire world, I would definitely recommend that they live out their adolescence and teenage years and 20s even as free agents, so to speak, you know, without any responsibilities and things. And I know that's quite hypocritical, because that's not what I did. And, you know, if it did turn out that they became fathers at a young age, then that's, you know, that would be fantastic, and I'm sure that I would love it. But I think ideally, I just want them to have that time to figure out how to be adults and figure out themselves and who they are before they have someone else to look after. I wouldn't change anything about my life, but that's what I'd want, I think, for my kids, just to have that period of just being themselves and not having responsibilities, and being able to just get up and go somewhere if they want to, and, you know, if they want to go on a gap year or go on holiday with their mates, or, you know, anything. I want them to have that kind of experience. But again, it's not really up to me what they do when they get past that age, so I just have to hope that they make the right decisions, I guess. I've got them going away on trips soon. So school trips. We've got my eldest going to Germany next year for a week. And it'll be his first trip out of the country. So I'm sure he'll enjoy that. They're going on coach though. You would have thought they would go on a plane, but they're going to coach it over. I would have liked him to have gone on a plane because I haven't been able to take either of my boys on an aeroplane. I'm sure they'd love it. And I think I've just put a little bit too much umber on here. I've come out too much because there's not enough kind of light gold on there, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, so I'd love to be able to take him on a plane one day, take them both. Now I'm going to do the inserts of these down here with the gold, and then we'll move on to either the red or the black. So now I'll do this exactly the same. So I'll just frame it. I'll do dark around the edge and then come lighter towards the centre. So yes, my eldest is going to Germany, and then my youngest is going to the Isle of Wight for 4 days with school, and these trips aren't until next spring time, so I've got plenty of time. But I'm really, when my eldest went to Isle of Wight, because it's a trip that they do at the end of primary school, when you're about to move up to the next school, they do a residential trip. So my first son went on the trip to Isle of Wight, and I missed him like, you cannot believe. It's hilarious because it's hilarious now, it wasn't then, but when he was away in the Isle of Wight, I remember me and my husband were sat watching the news and weather, and they started talking about the weather down in Isle of Wight on the news, and it made me cry. And it wasn't because the weather was bad or anything, it was just the fact that they were talking about how it was down there, and he was there and I wasn't, and I'm just soppy really. So I'm absolutely dreading my youngest going on the trip, and it's for a few reasons really, because one, obviously I'm going to miss him just like I missed his brother, but two, my youngest is autistic, so he's always been very dependent on me and his dad. He's not, like, my eldest is really independent, so, you know, he'll sort of go off and do his own thing, and he always has been able to do that. Even when he was younger, you know, he was happy to play by himself. Whereas my youngest is absolutely the opposite. They're like chalk and cheese. They're like chalk and cheese to look at, and they're like chalk and cheese as personalities as well. So with him being autistic and having the issues that he faces, and me never having been more than one night away from him when he slept at his auntie's house or whatever, I'm going to find it extremely difficult that week. I know it. And I'm really, really dreading it. I started choking up the other night thinking about it. I know he's going to love it, don't get me wrong. He's going to have the absolute time of his life. But there could be, you know, maybe at night time, or maybe if he starts falling out with his friends or something, when he really will want to come home and want me. And I won't be able to be there for him. And they don't have phone calls or anything. It's a 4-day trip, but they don't let the children phone you, because the way they see it is it's the first bit of independence away from mum and dad, and they try and keep it, you know, because obviously there's loads of teachers there, there's always going to be people to help him and whatever, but they try and keep it so that it feels like a holiday away from mum and dad, and it's like a little trip of their own, and they've got that space from the family. But I will be telling the teacher, you know, because of his issues, that if there are any problems, I want him to be able to ring me, because he will need to talk to me. So I think they'll make an exception in his case. But yeah, it's going to kill me. I don't know how I'm going to deal with it. When my eldest came back from that trip a few years ago, I went to the school to obviously pick him up, and we were waiting in the hall for the coach. And my son was the first child through the doors of the school hall, and I just ran across the hall and he ran towards me, and it was proper like a movie scene, and we just ran and just like grabbed each other because I'd missed him so much. I know it's only 4 days, but I am probably unhealthily attached to my kids. Like, I love them so much, and I miss them, and they're like my best friends. So it was really, really difficult. But when he came home, it was wonderful. I don't think I let go of him for about 3 days. And then when Max goes, my youngest, like I said, I think it's going to be even harder because of all that. So, and like I say, he is really dependent, so he will probably feel like a bit odd being away from me as well. And the thought of that is kind of making me feel a bit ill. But I'm sure he'll be fine. It's me that won't be fine. But yeah, so I've got them both going away next year. And then when the Isle of Wight trip is finished, he'll be starting at his new school, which is the school that my eldest goes to. So at least they'll have each other at the new school. And he'll be going on a residential trip after he starts the new school as well, because they do like a icebreaker trip, you know, because it's a new school, making friends, and that's a few days at a residential area as well. So next year's going to be really tough. But I'll get through it. Yellow ochre. So I am colouring over some of the little details here. That doesn't bother me too much. I can always get in there with a small eraser if I need to, or just go over it with a dark green. I can't be bothered to go around tiny weeny details. Yeah, I think that'll do for that. And then the last colour is sand. And again, just leaving a bit of white in the centre to maximise the contrast and give it a shine. Because if you do fill it in completely, it will lose that shine. So at the very edge of where you put the sand and it meets the white, just put a light layer of sand at the edge, just to further help it sort of blend into the white, because it is a really light colour, so it will blend quite well. We don't want to have any harsh lines anywhere. Okay. So next one, I'm just going to sharpen it. Watch your ears. Fantastic sharpener, but it's so loud. So if you get daunted by a lot of detail on a page, as I do, best thing to do is just do really small sections at a time and do not look at the rest of the page. Because if you keep looking at everything you've got left to do, it will overwhelm you. So all I'm doing now is concentrating on getting these gold bits done. I'm not thinking about anything else. I think that's just a really good tip if you've got, particularly if you're doing a big double page spread that's got loads of detail on it. Just focus on one little bit at a time. It's like when you're doing the diamond painting. If you look at the whole thing and you look at how tiny each diamond is and how many of them there are, literally tens of thousands, it's just going to overwhelm completely. But just do small sections at a time. Completely focus on getting this little bit done and break it up into smaller chunks, and that'll help. So it'll soon be time for me to do my video of all the pages I've coloured in 2019. I did it for the first time last year and it was really well received. Everybody loved seeing in one kind of video everything I'd achieved last year colouring wise. So it'll be almost time for me to do that again. Probably early January I'll be releasing that because I'll be colouring right up until the end of the year. And it seems to have gone just so incredibly fast since I did the last one. I've got some really nice pieces to include in this year's video. Obviously there's that magical jungle one I've just done. I'm really proud of that. The double page spreads always look the best when they're finished. I don't know, there's something about having every bit of the page coloured, you know, instead of just one single piece on the page with a white background or what have you. So yeah, got quite a bit to put on that video this year. The Beauty of Horror Tarot cards were fully funded yesterday, which is incredible. I pledged for my set a while ago now, and they've been funded on the Kickstarter campaign, and that's with everybody's help. So if you've gone on there and pledged, thank you so much for doing that. It's really nice to show Alan our appreciation of his hard work. I mean, he puts in so much time and effort, and you know, all of these cards, is there 78 cards that he's designed individually? It must have taken him just so long, but he's really quick. When I was having a conversation with him, he was telling me that he thinks doing one card a day is too slow, and I mean, it'd take me forever to design one card. So he's super quick. I know he doesn't sleep a lot, so that helps with his productivity, but it's just nice for him to have had it fully funded and to have that sign of support, I guess, and everybody having his back for all the hard work he puts in. Obviously he's got a band as well, he's a bassist in a band, so he's got so much on, and then to have done all this as well, just fantastic. So I can't wait to get my set of cards. I don't know how long they're going to take to produce, but hopefully by Christmas we should have them. And they all look really incredible as well. If you follow me on social media, you'll have seen loads of posts about them, encouraging everyone to support the campaign, and they really are fantastic. You know, if you don't like horror or any kind of gross imagery, then you're not going to like them, obviously, but if you are into that kind of thing, as I am, and you do like supernatural and tarot and mystical things like that and a little bit of horror, you will adore them. So just can't wait to see how they turn out production wise, you know, the quality. And I've ordered the set that you have to colour yourself. There was 2 sets, one that was already coloured by a really famous comic book artist, I think he was an artist, or something to do with comic books anyway. I should really know this, but that deck was coloured professionally, and then you had the deck that you could colour yourself. Sorry, I'm just going back quickly with the previous colours just to blend out. So yeah, I've ordered the one you have to colour yourself because I really want to add my own colours to the illustrations. I feel like this highlight is a little bit off, but doesn't matter. I'm learning to let things go. Okay, so last one, we've not got a lot to do here because it's covered by this little girl. So I'll come in with the light umber and just do the edges. A little bit there as well. Just trying to catch all the little bits I might miss. I think that is it for our gold areas, so I'll just put these away. And then I think we'll do the red next and finish off with the black outlines. So colours I have for this are 90% cool grey as our shadows, Crimson Lake, Scarlet Lake, Carmine Red, and a bit of white if we need it. So I'm going to start off with Crimson Lake because we'll come in and put our grey shadows in after. Don't want to go too heavy on that because we'll just end up having a mess of dark areas. So reds. Starting off with a Crimson Lake, brand new pencil. My Crimson Lake, the other one was literally that big, so got a new one. Let's start here. So same thing, but just on a more linear scale rather than a box. So I'm just putting some dark red here and just in the corners, And then just feathering them out like that, so hard, and then you sort of flick it and it just naturally gets lighter. These small areas you don't have a lot of room to play with, so just gauge it as best you can. So that is Crimson Lake. Next up is Scarlet Lake. So again, just dragging on the previous colour and just extending it so it comes a bit further out each time. Not a lot of room here, like I say, but just add a little touch of it. And then we've got our Carmine Red, which is more of a watermelon pink colour. But again, do not meet them in the middle. Really important to keep your shine and your depth of colour, I guess. I don't know what I'm talking about. Now, because I want this to be a little bit less rough looking, that was where I thought we'd bring in the white. So grab yourself your white pencil, make sure it's clean and sharp, and then where you've left that white, you can leave it like this, don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna fill it in. So where you've left the white, just go over. Quite hard pressure, and you're just burnishing and blending that very inner edge of that Carmine Red. Same on both sides. It's a very, very quick thing to do, but it gives it a bit more of a gloss, I guess. You just do it in the centres and that's it. If there's any little harsh areas, you can use your white to buff those out as well. There we go. So just having a quick look. Yeah, it looks pretty good to me. So for the shadow, so that we can really maximise the contrast, we've got white on there now, so we want to get as close to black as possible to maximise the contrast. I've got that 90% cool grey. Now, watchword for this is not too much. So just very, very light-handed. You're not pressing on this whatsoever. We're just going to do the slightest area at each corner. And even though it's only a little bit, it does make a difference to the overall look of it because it just gives it that contrast, maximum contrast. So very, very small area with a very light hand because you can go too far with this. And then again, just very small area down the sides. Okay, hopefully you can see, I don't know what, because I've got an overhead light, as you know, and it makes it kind of glare onto the wax, but hopefully you can see how just adding that slight bit of black has given it more of a boost, more of a pop on the page. Now, if there are any areas you want to touch up, like for instance, I think these two sides are a little bit too light, you can come back in with your Crimson Lake and just add a little bit more pigment. And again, lightly buff it out with the white. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that as it is. I could go on and on messing around with it, but I'm not going to. So that's it. That's the basics of how we're going to be doing the reds. Now I'm going to do red all underneath here. So I'm just going to take my Crimson Lake and get underneath here. I'm making sure that the very top is really burnished down. Then we'll just fade it. Scarlet Lake. And then your Carmine. And you can sort of fade that Carmine right down to the bottom, but do it very lightly. I'm just going to go back for a second to the Scarlet Lake just to add a bit more down here, because I don't want there to be too much Carmine, because as you've seen it ends up really light when you put the white on there. So I just want to add a bit more Scarlet Lake in so we don't get that problem. So white now, do the same thing. Just the very bottoms of each section. Just gives it a smoother look. You could do it with a blending pencil, but I think white looks quite nice just to keep the contrast up. So once you've got all your bits done on your white, we will go back to our 90% cool grey and do our shadow underneath here. That's also going to act, you know, to the eye as it being a little bit more pushed back, so it's underneath this top bit. I wish I knew all of the technical terms. But again, very light hand. We do not want a lot of this. And then once you've got your shadow in, go back to your Crimson Lake and go over it so that it's not so harsh. I'm also just going to get a bit more of that Scarlet Lake and bring down the red a little bit more. Okay. So I'm going to keep looking at this as I go through. I'm noticing that these ends here are looking a bit pink and I want them to look more red. So with that Scarlet Lake, I'm just going to mess around with it a little bit more. Cannot leave it alone, can I? It's probably the Carmine Red that's doing that, actually, making pink. So I might even try going straight from the Scarlet Red to the white and just taking the pink out of the equation. That's better. Next bit for the red, let's just do these small areas on top of this section. So this bit here and this bit here. And this bit as well. Scarlet Lake. And as I said, I'm going to cut the Carmine out for now and see if that helps keeping it red rather than pink. So bring the Scarlet Lake in a little bit more than I usually would. And then again with our white, let's give that a go. I think so. It's difficult to tell on a small area. Let's leave that as is for now, and I can always come back if it looks weird. Next, let's do these little areas. So again, I've gone over there, but it's fine because we're doing black on that area, so don't worry. Oh, I forgot to change my card, and I forgot to do the cool grey on this bit. So just quickly put your shadows in. Really does make a massive difference. I don't know whether you can tell on camera, but just adding that bit of darkness in there really makes a difference. So next up is Scarlet Lake. And then your white. Shadows. Don't need a lot here, it's a very small area. And then these cards are really annoying me now. I'm sure they're annoying you. A little bit more Crimson Lake just to blend out that shadow a little. Okay, next let's do these little letterbox areas. So again, Crimson Lake, just going to sharpen it. I'll keep the centre black, I think. Oh, I've missed one. Let's quickly do this one. Missed the biggest one. Sounds about right. And then white to blend. And our cool grey for shadow. Okay, so that's the centre section. Now we're going to do all of these frames down here in the same colours. So, Crimson Lake, I feel like this is just me repeating myself. Okay, so I'm hoping that for the second part of this video, I'll have some questions from you guys or some talking points. So if you're watching this and you want to ask me anything, please leave them in comment below and I will read them and get back to you on the next part of the video so that we've got something to talk about. Because I'm sure you don't want to sit and listen to me talk about Brexit. I don't want to listen to myself talk about Brexit. So, yeah. There's stuff going on with YouTube at the moment, actually, which is quite a big threat to my channel and the community at large, really. And I really don't understand it properly. So I don't want to give you the wrong information, but there's a new law that's come into force that apparently YouTube haven't been complying with, so they've changed some rules, and basically if you have a channel which could be attractive to children, so you know, colouring, obviously it's a child's activity, it might attract young viewers, then it's you have to label your video as such and you can't put ads on there anymore or something. I don't really know, but if you label your videos wrongly and you're found to have content that's suitable for children but you haven't labelled it as such, you can be slapped with a $42,000 fine. So yeah, not great. I mean, they'd have to be lucky to slap me with that fine, because I haven't got 42p, never mind $42,000. But it just seems to be a massive issue at the moment with YouTube, and I'm hoping that because there's a big petition and there's a lot of ruckus about it, that they might end up changing it, whether it's reverted back or they just change it a little bit, because you know there is an awful lot of there's an awful lot of rhetoric about it at the moment, so maybe it will all be sorted out before I have to worry. But we'll see. I'm trying not to get too worried about it at the moment, because for one, I don't really understand what I'm worrying about. But Nerdy Crafter, who's a massive channel on YouTube, did a really good video about it, kind of trying to explain, but even YouTube don't really know the rules that you have to follow. It's kind of up to you to police YouTube, rather than it being the parents of the children that should be either, you know, choosing what their kids watch manually, or just giving them access to the YouTube Kids app, which is, you know, made for children. So I don't really know. It's ridiculous, to be honest, what's going on at the minute. But there is a petition, and it has over 130,000 signatures as of today. So I'll leave that in the description and you can go and sign it if you want to. You can also take a few extra steps. I think you can write a comment to the FTC, who is the one who have imposed this new rule onto YouTube. And you can let them know what you think of it, and, you know, be polite, because I think, according to the videos I've watched, they are very interested in being educated on this issue. They don't really know that a lot of arts and crafts channels are not for kids. I mean, don't get me wrong, kids can watch my videos because I don't really swear in them, or there's no bad content, but I make my videos for adults, adult colourists. And looking at my statistics, kids of 13 to 17 years old only make up 2% of my viewing. So, you know, that's kind of obvious there, isn't it, who it's made for? But I don't know. It's one of those common sense issues, I think, a lack of. like I say, hopefully they'll change their minds or sort it out before, I think it's January it comes into force. Because, you know, with the uproar at the minute, they're bound to do something, surely. So I'm really excited because I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here is a TV programme that starts back on our screens this Sunday. It's my favourite TV programme, you know, it's not my favourite TV programme, but it's my favourite sort of thing to watch that's on every night. And it's always in November. And I think every single country has some iteration of it now on their screens, so you'll probably know what it is. But I think ours was the first. It started years ago now. I remember watching it when I was a teenager with my friends, and yeah, it's really, really fun. So I'm sure you know what it is, but if you don't, we have 12 celebrities in the jungle and they have to survive for 3 weeks, and they get to do tasks to earn food, but the tasks are always really gruesome, like, you know, shoving yourself into a pool of maggots and horrible stuff and eating spiders and just generally disgusting things. But it is a really fun watch. So yeah, I can't wait for that. Won't be long before the kids are breaking up from school for Christmas. There's that to look forward to. But it's always the time after Christmas, I think, that's the worst, isn't it? I mean, we've had some horrendous weather here. There's been floods everywhere. My brother was stuck on the bus for 4 hours yesterday, a few miles from home, because it was just flooded. But the lead up to Christmas is fine for me. Like, I quite, you know, I don't have any problem with it. It's the time after Christmas, January, February, just the dreary months when you've got nothing ahead. And every day is dark and horribly rainy and stuff. I think that's the worst time, isn't it, of the year, really. Obviously, if you're in Australia, it's not. But in our hemisphere, it is. So this is turning out quite nicely, isn't it? I'm hoping it will look as I envision it when it's done. I hope you're enjoying it so far. Please let me know if you are, by the way. It will encourage me to keep going. So I'm actually pretty gutted because we moved into this house a year ago, and the house next door that's joined onto ours has been vacant all year. We've never had neighbours on that side, and I've been able to bang my Alexa on every morning while I'm doing all the housework and just turn it up to max because it's not bothering anyone. But now someone's moved in, so I'm super gutted because I'm not able to put Led Zeppelin on maximum volume of a morning anymore. And yeah, but you have to be considerate of your neighbours. I've had ridiculously bad neighbours in the past. I've had the worst luck with neighbours, so I know what it's like to have bad neighbours, and I am not going to be one. So my rock music will be turned down for the foreseeable. But I'll just get some earphones in. It's fine. I haven't met them yet, the neighbours. Don't know what they're like. Heard lots of banging and knocking and things, so obviously they're getting the house to whatever standard they want it to be. Getting all decorated up and everything. I think that's it. Then white. So all these little bits that we've left, we can just really hard pressure colour over them. So yes, I'm going to cut the Carmine Red out, I think. That was the problem. Actually, I should have done some Scarlet Lake there. Have we got all of our bits, our white areas? I think so. Okay, so black now. So I've got obviously black and also 70% cool grey and 30% cool grey. So that is our colours for the black frame. So I'm going to start off darkest colour as always. And I'm going to start at the top here. You know what I've forgotten to do? Shadows. Let's go back. Let's just cycle back a little bit and put our shadows in. So again, really light hand. Just want to have a little touch of shadow. Don't want a lot. Just something that's not going to catch the eye, but it's just going to make it look a bit more dynamic. I will be showing you the whole page at the end, by the way, just in case there's any wax glare from my light and you can't see properly what the colour looks like. I actually got inspiration for these colours from another page that was done that I saw on Instagram, which I'll put on the screen now so you can see. But I'm not going to be doing the rest of the image the same. We're going to have lots of different colours. For instance, the Nutcracker is going to be black and white as well, and the background is going to be different. But I really like these colours for the post box. So yeah, thank you to the creator of that one for giving me the inspiration. These shadow areas take longer than you think, but it's really worth doing. Then you can, as I've said before, go over it with a bit of your Crimson Lake just to neaten it up if it's gone a bit too far. Okay, so let's go back to what we were doing. So we had black, didn't we, for the top bit of the post box. So I'm going to bring this out to about there. Same on the other side. In fact, I'll just do the bottom bit first as well. Then our 70% cool grey, which is, it's skipped a grey, but that's what I usually do if I'm trying to blend. I'll skip a colour and it still blends really nicely. It just moves the progress along a little bit faster. And then 30% cool grey. So we're leaving a little bit of white in the centre. You can go over it with a very light layer of the grey so it doesn't look as harsh. And I'm repeating myself. There we go. So again, if there's any areas that look a little bit too harsh lined, you can just go back over. So just put a bit of black over there. And then the 70% just to reblend it, I guess. And then 30%. So just doing a quick second go over really helps to smooth everything out. Okay, so next up, all of this area here. Put some black in the corner. This is a pencil extender, by the way, because all of my black pencils are really, really small. I'm gonna just put some black down the side of there, and maybe a little bit down here and then underneath. Just making this up as I go along, just trying to guess where bits of shadow would be. Should have the black sticker on there, shouldn't I? Sorry about that, guys. It's just another thing for me to remember. I figured out my phone though. I know how to make it stop blurring out and going out of focus. Put it on pro mode. which I didn't know existed. So that's one thing I've overcome. 70%. And then 30. So I'm not bothering with the white this time, as you've seen, just because the 30% cool grey is fairly close to white anyway, and we can just do a light layer over it to make it look a bit blended and a bit shiny. With the red, obviously red's quite far away from white, so it just needed that last little helping hand, I guess, to give the shine. Let's put some more shadow down here. Okay, so again, you can go back, you can do a second blend really quick to smooth things out. I think that looks pretty good as is. Okay, next up is this little bit here. Both edges, and we'll do this bit as well. I've not changed my stickers again. There you go, 70%. I'm sure by now though you can figure out the order of pencils. It's just I want it to look really professional, like when Sammy does it. And 30. Go back in to do your quick second blend. Back to black. So I'm going to do pretty much the same thing as we did on this side, if I can. So a little bit of black all here. Just trying to sort of mirror it and see what I did on the other side. So I'll do some in the corner. And just a little under here. So I don't know if it's just me or if it's the UK at the moment because of the bad weather, but has everyone been comfort eating lately? The other day, well, over 2 days, so it's not that bad, over 2 days, I ate an entire loaf of soda bread, Irish soda bread by myself, and all I had with it was some Lurpak butter, so bread and butter, that was my dinner for 2 days. So, you know, eating an entire loaf of bread is not exactly the healthiest choice, is it? But I just felt like I needed to have some stodge. Like I say, I think it is all the weather. It's just making everybody feel crap, I think. I've had nothing but rain for ages now. This is some black I'm putting in, by the way. Just can't be bothered to keep changing the cards. So yeah, comfort eating at the moment, which is not good. Sometimes you just need to, don't you? I don't think I've mirrored what I've done on that side at all, but it's fine. I am not getting caught up in worrying about things to do with colouring. It's not worth it. So if you know, you can't go wrong. It's art, isn't it? So just try and be a little bit more easy on myself, I guess. Just extending that black out a little bit. I think that'll do for that bit. Next we'll move on to this little lip underneath here. So exactly the same thing again. Just black at the edges. In fact, I might just do all of these in one go. That'll be quicker. I've still not changed my blooming stickers. Honestly, I need a little apprentice or a little assistant at the side of me doing this. I've got the worst memory. Short-term memory, terrible, absolutely terrible. And then 30%. I think I'm going to call this Colour Along Christmas Post. It's a nice little title for it, isn't it? I did, last few colour alongs I think I did the Witchy colour along with the Mariola Budek illustration, and I did the Enchanted Door or something, Ivy and the Inky Butterfly, Door to Enchantia, that's it. So I think I'm going to call this one Christmas Post, nice and simple. So I'm just going over doing my second blend. Okay. Then we'll do the sides. Don't forget these little bits in the inner edge as well. And I'll do the bottom all in one go. Just realised this little area here should be red, we've missed that. So I'm just going to add that in. The Scarlet Lake and a bit of white. Yes, so these inner bits, don't forget those. Okay, 70%, you know the drill. I wish you guys would just let me do music colour alongs where I don't have to speak. But I know every single comment I get is people saying they prefer it when I speak through the colour alongs, so I'm doing it for you. But I just never know what to talk about, so please give me things to talk about in the comments. Next episode, what will we be doing? We could do the nutcracker and the tree, I think, or we could do the background. Still not really decided what colour to do the coats of these girls yet, but that's sort of probably the last thing I'll do. The little bits like that I always leave till the last minute. And then 30% cool grey. Okay, so the bottom now of the post box, and then there's a few little other bits that we'll fill in, but for the bottom, just going to do exactly the same thing again, so I'm sure you're sick and tired of now. Putting in our black first, and I'll start again from here. So I probably brought the black a bit too far out there, but be fine. Just want to separate each of these sections so it's not just one long row. A little bit more interest to the eye. Still not changed my cards. Gosh, this is just like a parrot over and over again. 70% cool grey. As I said, I've probably brought the black out a bit far there, but it's fine. And then I'll just fill in this bit here because there's not too much room anyway. Same again here. And then 30%. Just going to sharpen this 1 sec. There we go. Now I'm going to do my second blend and bring it out a little bit. Also forgotten this little step at the bottom. This is looking a bit harsh here, so I just want to make it a bit smoother. So that is the main bit of the post box done. There's just a couple of little details that we've missed. So for instance, the inside of the letterbox, I'm just going to colour black. That'll be all shaded, the inside of the box. Also these two little pillars on each side, I'll just do a little bit of black on those. So just put a bit of black. I'm doing it sort of anywhere, just down the sides, and then we'll add in the greys as well. Very, very quick. I'm not spending a lot of time on this bit. Just redefine the black a little bit more. Then we have these two little line things at the top there, and I want to get those done in red. So go back to our reds for a second. We've got the Crimson Lake, doing exactly the same thing, and then that'll be this episode finished. Scarlet Lake. And then white. And then don't forget your shadow. Just put a little bit of shadow underneath these leaves because they would cast shadow as well. A little bit of the Crimson Lake just to finish. And there we are, we've done our post box. So obviously we've got some other little elements to do, like the wreath and things. I'll be doing those last. I just like to get the big things out of the way first. So I really hope that you are happy with how it's turned out so far. And I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to know anything you want me to chat about in the next episode. And yeah, so thank you very, very much for colouring along with me, and I will see you on episode 2.